Now let's talk with Otis Moss III. Otis, thanks again for being here.
Oh, it's a delight to be here.
Inspiring message as always.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You gave me a
kind.
perfect opening to start today because I wanted to, we were talking about your father a little bit.
Right.
And I want to ask you, as someone that's been identified in the press as a leader, as a new leader of the African American Church, belief in that we talked about, you've got this lineage and this history of your father, and you laid out long before that, obviously. How do you make that all about God and not let that coverage of you and what you're trying to accomplish out there be what people glom onto?
Well, I think that Howard Thurman says it best. My father passes on to me. He says that God places a crown above our heads that we will spend the rest of our lives growing tall enough to wear. And so I just try to spend my life trying to just grow taller and taller. And when you are around such luminaries as my father, as people such as Dr. Robert Michael Franklin, who's now the president of Morehouse College, and you have the opportunity to be around people that you want to be like and you see how they walk, you want to walk in their footsteps.
Otis Moss, that litany was phenomenal.
Oh, that's very kind.
I mean,
Thank you.
how long did it take you to memorize that? At any rate, you know, I was just thinking, here you are in Chicago just a few years, and yet on an earlier broadcast on 30 Good Minutes, you preached a message on an African folk tale, people who could fly.
People who could fly.
You
That's
are
right.
not only flying, but you're soaring since you've been
kind.
here in Chicago at Trinity United Church of Christ. And, you know, you're serving boards, distinguished boards of Christian Century Magazine. You've been on
your board also.
Greater Chicago Broadcast
That's
Ministries. But you are reaching into the wider community in a way that is true gift. How have your hopes and dreams changed since you've been in Chicago?
Well, Chicago has embraced myself and Monica and the kids in a powerful way. And it has really opened up for us to do ministry not only at Trinity, but in the wider community. We've had the opportunity to serve at Chautauqua Institution. Reverend Joan Brown Campbell, who's the director of religion there, allowed myself and my family and also the choir from Trinity to come to Chautauqua. And it was an amazing opportunity to be in such an ecumenical environment, number one, and an environment that has not necessarily had the influence of the African American church tradition. And so this has really been a unique ride to be able to connect with so many people of so many different traditions. You recently mentioned about the Chicago Interfaith Youth Corps. Having a connection with Ibu Patel has been just very powerful and an influence upon me and the work that he is doing.
You were the featured speaker at the Chicagoland Prayer Breakfast a couple years ago, and you got a standing ovation.
Right, that's
I
very
mean,
kind.
this is the wider community and reaching in.
I would pick up on that too. You know, I've had the pleasure of seeing you at Trinity preach, and it's an inspiring, fiery kind of experience. There's a lot been going on this year in the society and community. What themes have been lighting up your sermons? Is there anything that's been floating to the top consistently that you've been trying to convey to your community?
Yeah, we've been doing a series. I did a 9-part series entitled Next Level Living. One of the things that are kind of watching televangelists, people are talking about next level, and it's always on the material. But I framed it from the idea that going to the next level is not going higher, but going deeper.
Okay.
And so how do we go deeper with our relationship with God? And how is God calling us not only to live a life of mission, but also live a life of ministry? So what we do, acts of faith, giving away our faith, and connecting to those who are impoverished, connecting to those who are in need, that's next level living. How to literally live out your faith. That's what God is calling us to do, to live at the next level.
And you are passionate about not only hip-hop, but intergenerational ministry.
Yes.
And the energy that you have put toward that transforming of youth in the church. Can you talk a bit about that?
Sure. One of the things we're so very proud of, I've got to give a major shout out to 2 young ladies at our church, Whitney Wilkes and Ariel Bradley, who are kind of the lead organizers for our anti-violence campaign. The young people came to me and said that, you know, we love all these, you know, marches that are happening. He said, but they're never led by young people. We want to do it. And we decided that we were going to support them. And they brought over 500 youth from around the city to participate in an anti-violence campaign, and then instructed them on how you can start a peace club at your own school. So you can talk about nonviolence and how to have conflict resolution that doesn't involve fisticuffs or a gun. And so that is what really excites me, to see young leaders thrive and develop, and to see elders love and support them. And I think that that's really the great piece about the faith community, that you have an intergenerational group that says, I'm going to pass everything that I have. As I was with Moses, I will be with Joshua. And I really think that that's what our calling is.
And it sounds like this broadening out that's happening at Trinity, it's always been in place, but your focus, especially this past year, has been getting people not only to come to church and be inspired by the message, but also reach deeper into themselves and go out and be more deeply involved in their community through the programs at the church, but in other ways as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, one of the programs we're very proud of is our Operation Share. We have a food share that happens every month where we're feeding the hungry. But during Thanksgiving, we did almost 4,000 baskets of food between Illinois and Michigan, because we have a satellite location in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And to see the operation, though, to see all of these volunteers come out and not only stuff baskets, but everything from bringing the 18-wheeler in, and then they've got these forklifts, and I mean, just amazing to see people come and serve, and again, acts of faith, giving away their faith.
Transport us to the Sunday at Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago when the church raised, what, over $90,000 for the Haitian relief?
That's right. This, a few Sundays ago, we put out a call. We knew what happened, and I sent out what was called a robocall. You call everybody and said, this is Pastor Moss. We're going to take a special offering on Sunday. Then we sent out on our e-newsletter saying that you want to do something about Haiti. We want to literally put our money where our mouth is. And so on Sunday, I gave a history of Haiti, just talking about 1796 to Saint-Lô Overture, that the abolitionist movement was inspired by Haiti. Literally, no one had ever seen a country that was Christian and had abolished slavery. And so it inspired so many people during the 1800s to push forth in the abolitionist movement. And Haiti was punished in many ways as a result of that, because they didn't want, people in South Carolina didn't want people to know that there was a revolution happening. And so I gave that history, and people they just gave. I mean, when I saw the numbers, I was blown away.
And you have a number of Haitians in your congregation.
We do have quite a few people who have family in Haiti, who are from Haiti, and it was just a devastating a thing to watch what's happening. But then at church, bringing the Haitian families, those who are of Haitian descent, to the altar, and for people to know that they have a church community really committed, compassionate, and caring about what happens to their community, was a powerful thing to see.
You're based here in Chicago, obviously, Otis. You do travel for different speaking engagements and
Yes.
so forth. Are you seeing these kinds of community gatherings and focuses pull together in other places in the country? You're seeing church communities really come together to make a difference in all these different kinds of challenges we're facing today?
I'm really seeing it all across the nation. One, I haven't had the opportunity to meet him, but I'm very excited about his work. He's a gentleman by the name of Shane Claiborne. And what Shane is doing in Philadelphia, a young evangelical brother who is just committed to the idea of homelessness and poverty, is just really exciting to see. In Atlanta, Raphael Warnock, a classmate of mine at Morehouse, is just really lifting up the mantle of Dr. King, and has made a true commitment to the immediate neighborhood, to say that we're not just going to worship here, but we're going to make an impact on this neighborhood. Gary Simpson in Brooklyn, New York, who's been working with the Kellogg Foundation, who's doing incredible ministry right over in what is considered Bed-Stuy. And it's just all across the nation. We're seeing just a new generation of people who are really committed to transforming the neighborhood, to say that if you have to live your faith.
We have a minute left, but you have to share some stories about Michaela and Elijah, your two beautiful children, and about how they see God and their community at Trinity.
Well, one of the things that's powerful about Elijah and Michaela is, Elijah is 9, got to give him a shout out, he's 9, and Michaela is 6. is that they're so incredibly creative. And we came home one day, my son loves to draw, and he created this kind of unique comic book that was centered around faith. You know, I said, who is this guy? He had a little cross on his chest. He said, this is God-man. You know, it's like, what does God-man do? You know, he has superpowers. You know, he frees people from poverty and kind of things like that. You know, I was like, now that's a great superpower to have. You free people from poverty. But he received this from the community at Trinity, because Trinity has such a commitment to what happens in the neighborhood. And so when he is in a church that's talking about Christ, community, and culture, that is talking about liberation, that's talking about social justice, that is just moving into his spirit. So now he's doing comic books that reflect that message.
Thank you, Otis. We wish we had more time with you as always. Thanks for being with us.